It was a crisp winter day. Katie discovered that sometimes cold air sneaks into the house around the windows. Orbie found out that watching snowflakes fall can make you feel sleepy. And they both learned that when the snow is deep, cats jump from place to place instead of walking. At lunchtime, Katie and Orbie were sipping soup as Mom and Dad discussed the rest of the day. Mom had some reading to do for work. Dad said he'd come up with the most perfect way for the rest of them to spend the afternoon. Katie and Orbie looked at him. Dad stood up and announced they were going down to the farmer's market. Maybe Katie and Orbie would find something special to buy. This was an excellent idea, but Katie mentioned to Dad that the farmers weren't growing very many things right now. Snow was covering their fields. Dad pulled their snowsuits and coats out of the closet. They would go down and see what was happening at the farmer's market in the middle of winter. Orbie imagined the market in the summer. What would all that food do under the snow? Katie wondered if that was where you buy frozen peas. As they drove into the parking lot, Katie and Orbie realized that the farmer's market in winter looked a whole lot different than in the summer and the fall. There were lights strung around the stalls, and on this snowy day, they looked magical. The first stall they came to sold wreaths and swags for your front door. They were made of evergreen branches and were decorated with great big ribbons and bows. Katie remembered this stall sold great mounds of vegetables in the summer. Dad thought he'd buy a wreath for a necklace. Everyone laughed. In the stall next to them, an old man sold maple syrup. In the summer, this stall sold fresh fruit. Katie and Orbie looked at the containers and picked the prettiest one for Mom. After all, she was at home reading and they were having all the fun. Dad handed the man some money. As they moved on, they came to things made out of wood. There were birdhouses, small shelves, and little boxes. There was even a huge box on the ground. It was for storing sweaters in the winter. In the summer, Katie and Orbie had bought a birdhouse from the man. He remembered them and shook hands with Dad. The boxes were all beautiful, but Katie and Orbie felt that they weren't quite right for them to buy. Orbie tugged on Katie's jacket. They had to keep hunting. A booth with pretty centerpieces for the dining room table was next. They were made with dried flowers and sparkly things. You were supposed to put them on the table to make it look special. Katie reminded Orbie they sold fresh flowers in the summer. Soon they were at the door to the inside stall. And they could smell hot chocolate. And Dad thought this would be a perfect treat for the shoppers. As they walked inside, the warm air washed right over them. Dad found them a table, and the waitress brought them 3 huge mugs of hot chocolate with whipped cream piled on the top. Dad took a drink of hot chocolate, and when he put the mug down, he had a great big dollop of whipped cream at the end of his nose. Well, Katie and Orbie couldn't help but laugh. Dad pretended he didn't know what was so funny, and some of the children at the other tables were laughing too. Finally, Katie took her napkin and wiped the cream off of Dad's nose. One thing about Dad, he was always so silly. When they were finished, Dad headed them toward the indoor stalls. These were the ones that were the same in summer and winter, or so Katie and Orbie thought. It was grown-up stuff, and they were sure that they wouldn't find any children's things in there. Dad told them good hunters never give up. The first stall they came to sold all kinds of colorful stones. They found a jewelry stall, one where they sold handmade paper, and another that had all kinds of knitted things. Orbie thought these were all wonderful, but was there anything new and fun for them to buy? Katie felt the same way, too. So when Dad pretended to walk right up to the next stall, Katie and Orbie grabbed him and pulled him back. There, on the table, were all kinds of handmade toys. Trucks and tops and puzzles and dollhouse furniture and stacking toys for babies, all ready for new homes. Orbie burbled that everything was fabulous. Then Katie noticed something wonderful. Puppets. Puppets sitting up on a puppet holder. The old man told Katie and Orbie that the puppets were his very most favorite thing to make. He only sold them to people who would love them as much as he did. Katie and Orbie knew who could do that. It was hard not to touch them. They did a great job. Then the kindly old man leaned forward and asked Dad if it would be all right if they tried the puppets. The thing about a puppet was it had to feel like it came alive on your hand, or it wasn't the right one. Dad agreed. Both Katie and Orbie picked up a puppet. Orbie's was a very friendly-looking dragon. And Katie's was a fairy with big wings and a magic wand. Immediately a story started happening in their hands, and Katie and her best friend began to play. The puppets were beautifully made and worked really well. Dad said that if they would love them and look after them, they could each have a puppet. Neither friend could believe their ears. They hugged their puppets and they said yes. The man gave them a little shoebox to put them in. He was very happy to send them off to a good home where they would be loved. He said goodbye to each of his puppets and wished them all well. Katie and Orbie couldn't wait to get home and show Mom. Mom loved her maple syrup. And after supper, the two friends put on a show. It was about two puppets that were born in a market stall and knew everything the winter farmer's market sold. Mom and Dad loved it. And Katie and Orbie loved their puppets. They never forgot the wonderful day they had at the farmer's market. And I hope one day you'll get to go to a farmer's market too. And maybe find something there that's special for you. Because I know you really deserve it.
Did you know? Did you know? Did you know? Did you know? Globes are little models of the planet Earth. A globe is a great way to learn about our planet. It shows where all the countries are, where lots of rivers lead to, and just how far north is the North Pole. Find a globe and see if you can see where you live. Pretty tricky, isn't it?